A newly arrived nurse in the Central A was pushed aside, forgotten, and mocked daily by arrogant doctors in the hospital corridors. Until one afternoon, violent men stormed in and began destroying the entire hospital in front of helpless patients. To everyone, Emily Carter was just the rookie in blue scrubs, tired, quiet, and easy to intimidate. But when the leader of the destroyers looked into her eyes and realized she was not afraid, the chaos changed sides. Within minutes, the entire E discovered that this silent nurse carried a past none of them could have imagined. Welcome to Silent Badge's Stories. If this story pulls you in, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments what city you're listening from. Around here, every quiet badge has a secret, and you are welcome to the channel. Get the rookie away from my patient. Dr. Calvin Rourke did not shout. He did not need to. His voice had the clean cruelty of a man who expected every room to obey him. Emily Carter stopped beside Trauma Bay 4 with clean gauze in one hand and a chart in the other. The patient on the bed was an elderly man with chest pain, wet gray skin, and terror in his eyes. Emily had noticed the eyes first, then the sweat, then the subtle change on the monitor. Rourke noticed only that a nurse had spoken without permission. "I was checking his leads," Emily said. "You were hovering." Around them, St. Bartholomew Central ER moved like a machine with missing parts. Paramedics rolled stretchers through narrow gaps. Phones rang. A child cried behind a curtain. A woman in the hallway vomited into a plastic basin while her husband begged anyone to help. There were no open beds. There were not enough nurses. There was no quiet anywhere. But Rourke still had time to humiliate someone. He always did. Emily lowered the gauze. His rhythm changed. Rourke turned slowly. He was 48, tall, polished, and proud of the white coat he wore like armor. Two residents stood behind him. Both smiled before the joke arrived. "The rhythm changed," Rourke repeated. Emily looked at the monitor. His street segments looked different from the strip, printed 20 minutes ago. "He is colder. He is sweating more. He needs another EKG and troponin now." Rourke smiled. It was a blade dressed as charm. "And when did you become cardiology?" "I did not." "Correct." He took the chart from her hand. "You are a float nurse with 3 weeks in my IU, are not a physician. You are not a specialist. You are not even fully trained on our medication system." The resident on the left laughed. The patient heard it. His eyes moved from Rourke to Emily. "Can I trust you?" That was what they asked. Emily's face did not soften. Softness could wait. Truth could not. "He needs to be checked." Rourke leaned closer. "You need to learn your place." The nurse's station went quiet. A security guard looked down at his phone. Nobody wanted Rourke's attention. Everybody wanted the rookie to survive it. Emily was 39, white American with dirty blonde hair pulled into a loose ponytail that had begun to fall apart hours ago. Bright blue scrubs hung a little loose on her athletic frame. Her badge was clipped straight to her pocket. A thin scar cut through her right eyebrow. Another pale line crossed the back of her left hand. Most people saw fatigue. Almost nobody saw discipline. Rourke pointed toward the hallway. "Go clean Bay 8. Bay 8 has a chest tube set up waiting. Then clean something else. There are unstable patients in the hall." His smile vanished. "Then try not to get in the way of people qualified to treat them." The residents laughed again. Emily looked at the patient one last time. Then she nodded. "Yes, doctor." The words were calm. Too calm, Rourke noticed. He was used to tears. He was used to anger. He was used to nurses shrinking when he stepped too close. Emily Carter did none of those things. She only walked away with steady hands. At 3:04 p.m., Rourke humiliated her again. This time near the medication room. A trauma patient needed blood. Emily requested a second large bore 4. Rourke crossed out the note. She thinks every nosebleed is Fallujah, he said. A resident laughed, dumbly froze, not at the insult. At the door, it opened. White sun flashed behind her eyes. The A alarms became distant gunfire. A steel cart became the side of a damaged vehicle. Then the hospital returned. Rourke was still smiling. Something wrong, Carter? No. You look pale. I am fine. Maybe emergency medicine is too intense for you. Emily looked at the crossed-out order. The patient lost a lot of blood. The patient is stable. For now. Rourke stepped close. You have a discipline problem. No. No? I have a pattern problem. The resident stopped smiling. Emily kept her voice even. You wait until patients crash before admitting they were unstable. The hallway went silent. Mara turned from the station. Rourke's face hardened. Say that again. Emily should have stopped. Civilian life said stop. The other life said patterns ignored, become casualties. Your chest pain patient needed cath lab, she said. You dismissed it until Mara checked. This is not your lane. Patients do not care about lanes. Rourke slapped the supply bin from her arms. Wrapped syringes scattered across the floor. A little girl near triage flinched. Emily did not. That was the problem. She did not flinch at all. Rourke noticed. Everybody noticed. He lowered his voice. You are one bad shift away from losing this job. Emily crouched and began collecting supplies. Then I should make this one count. Mara's eyes widened. Rourke stared down at her. What did you say? Emily stood with syringes in one hand. I said I will restock the bin. His phone buzzed before he could answer. He checked the screen and walked away. The residents followed. Priya rushed to help. Why would you say that to him? Because it was true. That does not matter here. Emily looked at her. It should. At 3:36 p.m., dispatch called. Mara answered. Her face changed before she spoke. How many? Silence. Repeat that. Another pause. Send them here. She hung up and hit the overhead page. All available trauma staff to Central E. Possible multi-patient incident inbound. Prepare bays 1 through 6. The E reacted in layers. Nurses moved first. Doctors complained second. Administrators appeared last. Rourke came out of Trauma 1. What happened? Multiple injuries downtown, Mara said. Possible disturbance near the courthouse. How many? First report says 12. We do not have beds for 12? No, Mara said. We have floor space. Emily grabbed gloves. Rourke saw her. Carter. She stopped. You stay on family control. Mara frowned. Calvin, we need hands. We need trained hands. Emily said nothing. Rourke pointed toward the waiting room. Keep civilians out of trauma. Can you handle that? The insult was clear. Away from patients. Away from decisions. Away from anything that mattered. Emily nodded. Yes, doctor. She walked toward the waiting room. Halfway there, the glass entrance shook. Not opened, shook. A deep impact rolled through the doors. People looked up. A second impact followed. Harder. The security guard near triage reached for his radio. The third impact knocked the left sliding door off its track. Screams tore through the waiting room. Broken glass sprayed across tile. A man stumbled backward holding his face. Then the destroyers came in. 6 men, large bodies, black leather, dark vests, tattoos down thick arms, boots grinding glass underfoot. One carried a metal pipe. Another swung a chain. A third kicked over a wheelchair so hard it spun into a row of chairs. Patients scattered. A mother grabbed her toddler. An old man fell trying to stand. The security guard lifted his radio. The man with the pipe hit him in the chest. The guard dropped. The leader entered last. He was broad, weathered, and filthy with sweat. Curly dark hair stuck to his forehead. A rough beard covered his jaw. A sleeveless black leather vest showed tattooed arms and old scars. His eyes moved like an animal searching for a wound. Not wild focused that made him worse. He looked across the waiting room. Where is he? Nobody answered. The man with the chain smashed the triage monitor. Sparks jumped. The clerk screamed and ducked. Where is the soldier? The leader asked. Emily stood 20 feet away, between him and the hallway to trauma. Rourke stepped out behind her. His face drained. This is a hospital. The leader smiled. Then you better know how to save people. One destroyer flipped a medical cart. Drawers burst open. Needles, gauze, tubes, and bottles scattered across the floor. Another shoved a patient bed into the wall. Metal screamed against drywall. Somewhere deeper inside, a monitor alarm began wailing. Emily turned her head slightly, not away from the leader. Just enough to count 6 attackers. 1 guard down. 2 exits blocked by panic. 23 civilians in the waiting room. 3 children. 1 oxygen tank near triage. 1 fire extinguisher behind the leader. 1 trauma shear in her pocket. No backup yet. The leader's eyes found her. He looked her up and down. Blue SCRUBS. Badge. Tired face. Loose ponytail. Rookie nurse. He stepped closer. You. Emily did not move. Where is the soldier? I do not know. A lie. She had not seen a soldier arrive, but she knew a hunt when she saw one. He leaned close enough for her to smell cigarettes, sweat, and metal. You afraid? Behind Emily, a child sobbed. The leader looked down at her hands. They were steady. His smile faded. For the first time, the chaos did not seem to please him. He looked into Emily Carter's eyes and found no panic. No submission. Only calculation. His brow tightened. What are you? Emily's voice came soft. The wrong nurse. Then the man with the chain raised his arm toward the triage clerk. Emily moved, not like panic, like memory. She stepped inside the leader's reach, caught his wrist, turned her shoulder, and drove 2 fingers into the nerve bundle above his elbow. His hand opened. The pipe dropped. Emily caught it before it hit the floor. The waiting room went silent for half a breath. Then all chaos changed sides. 3 minutes earlier, nobody in ST. Bartholomew believed Emily Carter could command a supply closet. Now she held a metal pipe while the leader of 6 violent men staggered back from her. The room could not understand it fast enough. Rourke froze in the corridor. Mara stood with the phone in her hand. Priya stared from the nurse's station. Patients held their breath. The leader flexed his right hand. Pain traveled into his face. Then rage replaced surprise. You made a mistake. Emily shifted the pipe behind her leg. Not raised. Hidden. Double quotes. No, she said. You did. The man with the chain lunged first. He came wide, angry, and careless. Emily hooked a rolling stool with her foot and sent it into his shin. His weight broke. The chain missed her face by an inch. She brought the pipe down across his forearm, not his head, not his neck. A disabling strike. The chain clattered. He dropped to one knee. Another attacker grabbed her from the side. Emily pivoted, drove an elbow into his ribs, caught the back of his vest, and redirected him into the triage counter. His shoulder slammed hard. He folded. No flourish. No wasted motion. 4 seconds. Rourke whispered, What in the world? Mara heard him. Her eyes stayed on Emily. That is not self-defense, she thought. That is training. Emily back toward the hallway, not away from danger. Away from civilians. "Everyone behind the desk," she ordered. Nobody moved. Her voice changed. Not louder. Sharper. Double quotes. "Move now." People obeyed. Mothers pulled children down. An elderly man crawled behind chairs. Priya dragged the injured guard by his shoulders. Mara spoke into the phone. "We have armed intruders in the eye. Multiple civilians. Send police now." The leader straightened. He no longer looked amused. "Who trained you?" Emily did not answer. The wounded attacker tried to stand. "Stay down," she said. He froze. The tone did it. The leader heard it too. "Military?" The word landed in the E like a dropped blade. Rourke looked from him to Emily. Emily's face did not change. Inside, something old moved behind her ribs. A door unlocking. She did not want it open. Not here. Not in blue scrubs. Not after 3 weeks of being invisible. A crash sounded from Trauma 2. Another attacker had broken through the side corridor. He shoved a resident into the wall and kicked open a curtain. A patient screamed. The leader smiled. "There he is." Emily turned. Through the curtain, she saw him. Male. Mid-30s. Blood-soaked shirt. Military haircut. One hand pressed to his lower abdomen. The other clutched a black pouch to his chest. He was not on the bed. He was on the floor. Blood spread beneath his hip. Dark. Fast. Unctil bleed. High groin. Bad place. Hard to control. Death comes quickly from there. The soldier's lips moved. No sound reached her. Emily's grip tightened on the pipe. The leader saw where she looked. "Bring me the pouch." The attacker in Trauma 2 grabbed the soldier by the collar. The soldier cried out. Emily started forward. Rourke caught her arm. "Do not." He grabbed the wrong woman. Emily looked down at his hand. Rourke let go before she made him. "Call lockdown," Emily said. "I am the director here." "Then direct." Mara snapped into motion. "Priya, lockdown switch." "Jimmy, close the ambulance bay doors." Everybody else, patients behind hard cover. Jimmy shouted from radiology. "On it." The attacker dragged the bleeding soldier farther into view. The pouch slipped. The soldier clutched it tighter. The leader stepped around Emily. Keeping distance, now. Smart. These men were not random. They had a target, a plan, bad execution. That made them dangerous. The soldier's eyes locked on Emily. Pain clouded them. Recognition fought through it. Not full recognition. Something older, something attached to how she stood, how she scanned, how she did not stare at the weapon first. "Blue," he rasped. Emily stopped. Her stomach went cold. The leader bent near him. "What did you say?" The soldier blinked at Emily. "Badge." Emily's breath caught. Blue badge. Old call sign. Dead call sign. A name from a place that did not exist on paper. The leader turned slowly toward her. "What did he call you?" Emily said nothing. Mara stared. Rourke stared. The soldier gave a weak, wet laugh. Should have known. His eyes rolled back. His body slackened. Emily moved toward him. The attackers stepped in. One lifted a broken 4-pole. Another raised a chair. One had a small knife. Emily saw every threat, then ignored them all for the bleeding man. She set the pipe down. The leader lifted his eyebrows. "You surrendering?" "No." Emily pulled trauma shears from her pocket. "That man has 90 seconds before pressure collapse." The leader glanced at the soldier. "Then he better give me what I came for. He cannot give you anything dead." The leader hesitated. There. Not mercy. Utility. Emily used it. "You need him alive. For now. Then let me stop the bleed." Rourke stepped forward. "No. We cannot treat a patient under threat until law enforcement." "Be quiet," Emily said. Rourke went red. You do not speak to me like that. Emily turned her head. The expression on her face made him step back. Not anger, removal. She had placed him outside the problem. Emily looked at the leader again. I treat him. You ask questions after. And if I say no? Then the thing you came for dies with him. 6 seconds passed, then the leader nodded. Double quotes do it. Emily dropped beside the soldier. Her scrubbed knees hit blood and glass. She ignored both, left hand to neck, pulse weak and fast. Right hand cut fabric. The wound was high, deep, and ugly. Blood pulsed from a place ordinary pressure would not reach. Rourke saw it and went pale. That needs OR. It needs pressure first. You cannot control that here. Yes, I can. She drove her fingers into the wound and compressed the vessel against bone. A soldier screamed. Emily did not stop. Her face tightened once. Then calm returned. Priya, she called. Priya appeared shaking. Yes? Combat gauze from Bay 8. Pelvic binder. 2 large bore IVs. Blood tubing. O negative. Priya stared. Now? Priya ran. Rourke tried to recover his authority. Carter, that is not how we... Mara. Here, Mara said. Mass casualty protocol. Red tags unstable. Yellow delayed. Green to cafeteria hallway. Black only if no pulse and no respirations after airway reposition. Mara's mouth parted. Those were not casual words. Those were command words. Triage words. Combat words. Mara moved. Jimmy, get tags. Priya, move. You heard her. Rourke glared. She is not in charge. Mara snapped. And act like you are. The leader crouched near Emily. Blue badge. Emily packed gauze around her own fingers without releasing pressure. The soldier groaned. Stay with me, Emily said. His eyelids fluttered. You should not be here. Neither should you. A faint smile tried to form. Pain erased it. The leader heard them. You know him. No. He knows you. People in pain say things. The leader reached for the pouch. Emily's blood-covered hand snapped up and caught his wrist. The room froze. Her fingers dug into his skin. Touch him again, Emily said. And I stopped being polite. The leader stared. Then he laughed because fear had nowhere else to go. You are surrounded. Emily glanced around. 6 attackers. 1 wounded. 1 limping. 1 armed. Patients hidden. Staff moving. Police likely 5 minutes out. Too long. I know. The leader pulled his wrist free. Remember that. Emily finished packing the wound. Pressure hold, she told Priya as she returned. I cannot. You can. Both hands. Here. Push down and toward his spine. Do not ease up when he screams. Priya placed her hands. The soldier screamed again. Priya cried, but held. Emily nodded. Good. Mara read the portable monitor. Pressure 78/42. Pulse 146. 2 units O negative. TXA 1 gram 4. Rourke snapped. You cannot order medication. Emily looked at him. You can. So order it. He opened his mouth. No words came. Mara barked. Rourke, order it. He grabbed the tablet with shaking hands. Sirens wailed outside. 1 attacker shouted, Cops! The leader cursed. Grabbed the pouch. We leave. Emily stood. Blood covered her hands to the wrists. Her ponytail hung loose. Her blue scrubs were stained dark at the knees. You are not taking him. The leader lifted the knife. Then I take you. He lunged. Emily stepped inside the knife arm, trapped the wrist, and turned with his momentum. The blade missed her ribs by an inch. His elbow hit the triage counter. His grip broke. The knife fell. Emily kicked it under a cabinet and struck him once in the chest with the heel of her palm. not to injure, not to move. He stumbled into his own men. "Lock down doors now," Emily shouted. Jimmy slammed the switch. Metal shutters began dropping over the ambulance bay. One attacker tried to dive through. Mara threw a chair into his legs. He fell. The shutter crashed down behind him. Now they were trapped inside Dot with Emily. The leader looked at the sealed door. And at her. For the first time, everyone saw fear. Small. Real. Ugly. The soldier opened his eyes. His hand lifted weakly toward Emily's ankle. "Blue badge," he whispered. Rourke heard it clearly. Mara did too. Priya stared through tears. The leader backed up. "What does that mean?" Emily looked down at the soldier. A lifetime passed across her face. Then she turned back to the attackers. "It means you picked the only EO in America where this ends badly for you." The first police siren stopped outside. Someone pounded on the sealed glass. The attackers raised their improvised weapons. Patients held each other behind the desk. Rourke whispered, "Emily, what are you?" Emily did not look at him. Her eyes stayed on the men. Her voice was calm, busy. Then the power went out. The leader raised the pipe with his good hand. "You think darkness helps you?" Emily said nothing. An attacker rushed from the left. Too loud. His boot slid on blood before he reached her. Emily caught the 4-pole he swung, pulled instead of blocked, and let his weight carry him forward. Her knee struck his thigh. Her palm guided his head into the wall. He dropped with a grunt. Not dead, not unconscious. Out of the fight. The leader backed up. "What are you?" Emily picked up the fallen IV pole. "Nurse." "No nurse moves like that." Behind her, the soldier coughed. Wet sound. Not good. His chest movement had changed. Too shallow. Jaw slack. Blood loss and airway compromise. "Priya." "I am holding. You are doing well." "Mara, airway kit." Mara ran. Rourke stepped forward. "I can intubate." Emily glanced at the soldier. Blood at the mouth. Swelling near the jaw. Low light. Bad angle. No time for pride. "Can you do it on the floor while people try to kill us?" Rourke stopped. The answer was on his face. No. Emily held out her hand. "Then hand me the kit." Mara slapped it into her palm. The leader saw her attention shift. He nodded to the tattooed attacker. The man moved toward Priya and the soldier. Emily did not look up. "Jimmy." From behind the desk, Jimmy shouted, "Yeah?" "Fire extinguisher. Low sweep." Jimmy pulled the pin and blasted white chemical spray across the floor. The attacker slipped hard and crashed onto his back. Patients gasped. Jimmy looked shocked. Emily said, "Good." Then she opened the airway kit. Rourke stared at her hands. They were covered in blood. They did not hesitate. She positioned the soldier's head. "Talk to me," she said. His eyelids fluttered. "Blue. Not now." Still bossy. Still bleeding. Mara looked at her. "You do know him." Emily did not answer. The leader shouted, "Enough?" He grabbed an older man from behind the triage desk and yanked him into the open. The old man cried out. His gown hung loose. A monitor lead trailed from his chest. The leader pressed the pipe against his throat. "Everybody stops." Emily froze with the airway blade in her hand. The old man's eyes locked on hers. "Please." The word needed no sound. The leader breathed hard. "Move away from the soldier." Emily stayed kneeling. The portable monitor beeped low. 80-8.80-6. Rourke looked at it. "He is dropping." "Quiet," the leader snapped. He pulled the old man tighter. "Move away, or I crush his throat." Police pounded outside the locked doors. A muffled bullhorn demanded communication. The attackers looked to their leader. They needed him in control again. He needed it more. Emily lowered the blade slightly. "What is your name?" The leader blinked. What? Your name? Why? Because if that man dies, I want to know what name to give police. His face twisted. You think you are brave? No. Emily shifted her eyes to the old man. Sir, chin down. The old man trembled. The leader missed the instruction. Mara did not dot. Emily looked back at him. You came for the pouch. You do not have it. You are trapped. Police are outside. 3 of your men are injured. Your leverage is shrinking. The leader pressed harder. Looks like I have leverage. You have panic dressed like leverage. His nostrils flared. Walk away. No. Then he dies. Emily's eyes went cold. No. He drops. The old man obeyed. Chin down. Knees loose. Emily moved at the same instant. She threw the airway blade, not at the leader, but at the light panel above him. Metal clanged. He flinched upward. The old man dropped. Emily crossed the distance in 3 steps. Her shoulder drove into the leader's midsection. Her left hand trapped the pipe. Her right elbow struck under his jaw. The old man crawled away. The leader swung blind. Emily ducked. The pipe hit the wall. She rotated behind him, hooked his knee, and dropped him to the floor. Air left his body. Emily put one knee between his shoulders and pinned his wrist behind his back. Do not move. He tried. She increased pressure. He stopped. Rourke stared. That is not restraint training. Emily looked at Mara. Airway. Mara tossed her a second blade. Emily released the leader just long enough for Jimmy and the recovered guard to hold him down. Then she returned to the soldier. Oxygen saturation 80-2. Lips blue. No time. She opened his airway, too swollen for standard intubation. She found the landmarks at his neck. Rourke saw what came next and panicked. No, absolutely not. Emily grabbed the scalpel. You cannot do a surgical airway in the A hallway. Emily looked up. Watch me. Priya whispered. Can she do that? The soldier's weak fingers found Emily's wrist. Blue badge, he rasped. Emily leaned close. You still with me? Mostly. Good. Stay mostly. Rourke reached for her shoulder. Mara caught his wrist. Do not touch her. Emily palpated the cricothyroid membrane. 1 breath. 2. Cut. Small horizontal incision. Blood welled. She opened the tract, inserted the tube, and confirmed air movement. The monitor climbed. 80-4.80-2. The soldier's chest rose. A real breath. Priya cried harder. This time from relief. Emily secured the tube. Bag him slow. Do not hyperventilate. Priya nodded. I can do it. I know. Mara checked the pressure. 90/50. Keep pressure. Blood running. First unit up. Second ready. The leader groaned from the floor. His cheek pressed against tile. He looked at Emily with one eye. There was no rage now. Only the awful knowledge that he had misread her completely. Police forced a side door, open near radiology. Officers entered with weapons raised. Hands where we can see them. Mara shouted. Patients and staff on this side. Intruders on the floor. Emily stayed kneeling over the soldier. An officer aimed at her for half a second. Blue scrubs. Blood-covered hands. Scalpel nearby. Body on the floor. It looked bad. Rourke pointed at the attackers. She stopped them. The words surprised him. The officer lowered his weapon. More police entered and cuffed the attackers. The man with the injured arm cursed until Mara told him to save his breath. The ambulance bay shutter lifted halfway. A tactical medical team entered. A Navy corpsman dropped beside Emily. Status? Emily answered without thinking. Male mid-30s. Junctional hemorrhage high left groin. Packed with hemostatic gauze. Manual pressure maintained. 1 unit O negative running. Second ready. Surgical crick placed 2 minutes ago. Sats 94. Pressure 90/50, pulse 130, and trending down. The corpsman looked at her, not the patient, her. No ordinary rookie gave a report like that, not in that order. Not under that pressure. He scanned her face, scar through eyebrow. Steady hands, blood to the elbows, blue scrubs. Something flickered in his eyes. Who are you? Emily looked down. Nurse Carter. The soldier opened his eyes. The corpsman leaned closer. Sir, can you hear me? The soldier's gaze stayed on Emily. His voice scraped through the new airway. Barely sound. Blue badge. The corpsman went still. His head turned toward Emily. Mara heard it. Rourke heard it. Priya heard it. Even the handcuffed leader heard it and looked afraid again. The corpsman stood straighter. Ma'am, he said quietly. Emily's eyes lifted. Do not. I served with men who talked about you. No, you did not. Yes, ma'am, I did. Rourke stepped closer. What is Blue Badge? Nobody answered him. The corpsman looked at the soldier, then Emily. This is Lieutenant Commander Noah Briggs, Naval Special Warfare Support. He was transporting evidence tied to a contractor network under investigation. Emily's eyes sharpened. That is what they came for. Yes. The pouch. Yes. The leader shouted from the floor. You people have no idea who you are messing with. Emily turned her head. The look she gave him shut his mouth. The corpsman swallowed. We need to move Briggs to OR. Vascular surgeon, Emily said. Already inbound. Massive transfusion. Warm fluids. Check calcium after 4 units. Do not chase pressure too high before control. Yes, ma'am. Police dragged the leader upright. Blood ran from his mouth. His leather vest hung crooked. His confidence was gone. You ruined everything, he said. Emily stood slowly. Her knees were red with blood through blue fabric. Her hands dripped onto the floor. She looked smaller than the officers, smaller than Rourke, smaller than the wreckage. But nobody saw her as small anymore. You did that before you came in, she said. He leaned toward her as much as the cuffs allowed. You think this ends here? Emily stepped close. No. I think this is where you start telling the truth, because you finally understand who caught you. His face changed. Who are you? The question stayed unspoken. Emily did not answer. The officers pulled him away. She stepped between Emily and the staring staff. Carter. Emily pulled off one bloody glove. Yes, you need to sit. No, that was not a request. Emily looked past her. Briggs was being rolled toward surgery. His eyes found hers. He lifted 2 fingers from the blanket. Not a wave. A signal. Old. Small. Known. Emily returned it before she could stop herself. 2 fingers low against her leg. The corpsman saw. Rourke saw. Mara saw. As Briggs disappeared toward the elevators, he forced out one final broken phrase. Tell command, Blue Badge is alive. The words landed harder than any crash. Mara turned slowly toward Emily. Rourke whispered, Command? The corpsman stood at attention without meaning to. Every nurse nearby stared. Emily closed her eyes for 1 second. The past had not knocked out. It had kicked the doors off the hinges. When she opened her eyes, Dr. Calvin Rourke was looking at her with fear. Not irritation, not contempt. Fear. Emily, he said carefully. What was he talking about? Emily looked at the destroyed, the helpless patients. The blood on the floor. The doctors who had laughed. The nurses who had frozen. The men who had come to destroy and left in cuffs. Then she looked back at Rourke. He was talking about someone I buried a long time ago. Mara stepped closer. And is she still buried? Emily did not answer right away. Outside, sirens multiplied. Inside, the E awaited. For the first time since she arrived at St. Bartholomew, Nobody interrupted her. Emily looked toward the elevators where Briggs had vanished. "No," she said. "Not anymore." "No," Emily said. "Not anymore." The A waited for her next word. That was the strangest part. Minutes earlier, no one had cared when Emily Carter spoke. She was the rookie in blue scrubs. The tired nurse people stepped around. The quiet woman Dr. Calvin Rourke mocked when he needed an audience. Now every face turned to her. Patients, nurses, doctors. Police. Even the wounded destroyer, being dragged toward surgery, had left her old call sign hanging in the air. Blue badge. Emily looked at the shattered EA and let the old part of her rise fully. Mara, green zone by registration. Walking wounded only. Chairs, blankets, water, blood pressure cuffs. Nobody leaves until triage clears them. Mara Ellison blinked once, then nodded. Double quotes green zone. Luis, clear the center aisle. Move non-critical patients behind the nurses' station. Use gurneys and supply carts as barriers. We need lanes. The tech's hands shook, but his feet moved. Yes. Dr. Mehta, disaster cart. Storage alcove, second door, red cabinet. Code 2719. The resident stared. How do you know the code? Emily did not answer. Rourke did. You do not give orders here. Emily turned to him. The old Emily would have lowered her eyes. The nurse everyone knew would have swallowed the insult and kept working in silence. That woman was gone. Move. Rourke's face tightened. This is my E. No, Emily said. It was your A when panic buttons failed. It was your A when hall patients had no airway access. It was your AI when every nurse warning was treated like noise. The room went still. Emily stepped closer. Right now, this is a casualty site. I know how to run one. You do not. A police sergeant near the ambulance doors looked from Rourke to Emily. Ma'am, who is in charge? Rourke lifted his chin. I am. Nobody moved. The sergeant looked at the broken monitors, the patients on the floor, the nurses already following Emily's commands. Then he looked at her. Ma'am? Secure every exterior door, Emily said. Ambulance bay, main lobby, radiology hall, north stairwell. These men were not random. They came in looking for one patient. Rourke went pale. One patient? Emily pointed toward trauma 2. A man in a torn military jacket lay half-conscious beneath a blood-soaked sheet. His chart said Daniel Price. His tattoos said Navy. His eyes said hunted. We still do not know who else is coming, Emily said. The sergeant began barking orders. Rourke stepped close and grabbed Emily's arm. The touch lasted less than a second. Emily closed her hand over his wrist and pressed one exact point between tendon and bone. Rourke gasped and bent at the knees. Emily released him. Never grab me while a patient is dying. For the first time since she started at St. Bartholomew, Calvin Rourke had nothing to say. Emily entered trauma 2. Daniel Price was gray around the mouth. His chest barely moved on the left. Blood pooled near his hip. Vitals. Nurse Owens answered instantly. BP 78/42. Pulse 136. Sats 86. 14-gauge angiocath. Left chest. Second intercostal mid-clavicular. Owens stared. Needle decompression? No. Rourke appeared in the doorway. You do not have authority to perform that. Daniel's eyes opened. They locked on Emily. His lips moved behind the oxygen mask. Blue. Emily leaned closer. Do not talk. Daniel caught her sleeve. Badge. Rourke heard it. Mara. Heard it from the doorway. Daniel's eyes sharpened through pain. No. You are dead. Emily's face hardened. Not today. She cleaned the chest, found the landmark, angled the needle, and pushed. A hiss escaped. Daniel's chest rose. Owens whispered, "Sat's climbing." Emily had already moved to the hip wound, high in the groin. Junctional, the kind ordinary tourniquets could not reach. The kind that killed strong men while doctors argued. Emily drove pressure deep into the crease of Daniel's hip, pinning the artery against bone. Daniel screamed through his teeth. "Hold him," she said. Louise and Meta pinned his shoulders and legs. "Sorry," Emily told Daniel. His eyes watered. "Still got bedside manner." "Barely." A tiny laugh broke from Lise and died fast. Emily packed hemostatic gauze into the wound. 3 minutes of pressure. "Do not let up." Owens took over where Emily placed her hands. Rourke stared at the dressing. "Where did you learn this?" "In places where titles did not stop bleeding." Mara ran in breathless. "Briggs is in surgery. He told me something before they took him. Price stole evidence from a private military contractor. More men are coming. They were ordered to erase the witness and anyone who heard him talk." A door alarm shrieked from the east wing. Emily closed her eyes for half a second. Assess, analyze, act. When she opened them, the rookie nurse was gone. "Lock down the A," she said. The sergeant said, "Already doing it." "No, you are locking doors." "I said lock down the E. Move patients away from glass. Kill unused lights. Cover monitors from hallway sight lines. Put beds behind load-bearing walls. Clear a path from Trauma 2 to the service elevator." The sergeant stared. "You have done this before." "Yes." No explanation followed. Just yes. Mara stepped beside her. "Tell me where to stand." Emily looked at the young nurse's bloody hands. "By Price. You do not lead him unless I tell you." Mara nodded. "Okay." The radio cracked. 2 black vans approaching east entrance. Emily turned back to Daniel. "What did you bring here?" His breathing was shallow. "Drive." "Where?" "Jacket seam." Mara grabbed the torn jacket. Emily found the hidden pocket by touch. A small black data drive slid into her palm. Rourke stared at it. "What is that?" Daniel forced air through his teeth. "Names, contracts, kill lists, hospitals." Emily's stomach turned. "Hospitals? Fake trauma studies. Medical cover, they used ERS." Rourke looked suddenly sick. Emily's eyes moved to him. "What did you sign?" "I do not know what he means." Daniel gave a broken laugh. Rourke knows. Mara turned on the doctor. "You know these people?" Rourke opened his mouth. No words came. A crash echoed from the east wing, and shouting. Then 2 sharp shots. Patients screamed. Rourke flinched. Emily saw it. Fear had exposed what pride concealed. She stepped close enough that only he could hear. "After this is over, every secret you sold will bleed in the open." Rourke whispered, "You have no idea how powerful they are." Emily leaned in. "No, you have no idea how tired I am of cowards mistaking power for courage." The sergeant shouted from the hall. They breached east side. Emily grabbed the IV pole. "Mara, move Price. He is unstable. Then we make him stable while moving." Owens held pressure. Meta bagged Daniel. Louise pulled debris from the path. Emily pushed the bed toward radiology. An attacker appeared at the far end of the hall in a black jacket and mask. He raised the rifle. Emily shoved the bed hard right. Rounds tore through the wall where Daniel's head had been. Mara screamed, but she did not let go. The sergeant fired back. Sprinklers burst overhead. Cold water rained over broken glass and blue scrubs. A second attacker stepped from the side corridor, aiming at Mara. Emily moved first. She drove in 4-pole into his knees, slammed her shoulder into his chest, stripped the rifle away, cleared it, and sent the magazine skidding across the floor. He reached for her. She drove one elbow into his wrist. He screamed. She did not. Mara stared. You just move. They reached radiology storage. Concrete walls. One door. No windows. Good. Emily slammed the bed against the back wall. Mara stayed on pressure. Owens hung blood. Meta shook so badly, he nearly dropped the tubing. Emily caught his wrist. Look at me. He looked. I am scared. Good. Fear means your brain understands the problem. Panic means your body stopped listening. Do not panic. Meta nodded. His hands steadied. The door handle rattled. Emily grabbed the fire extinguisher. The door kicked inward. The first attacker entered too fast. Emily drove the extinguisher into his throat before he cleared the frame. The second raised his weapon. Emily pulled the pin and blasted chemical spray into his face. The police sergeant tackled him into the hall. Emily stood in the doorway, soaked, breathing hard, still in blue scrubs. The sergeant lowered his pistol and stared at her. Who are you? Emily looked down the hall. More sirens outside. More boots. Different boots. Heavy. Coordinated. Military. She exhaled once. Someone who is done hiding. The boots reached the A before the next attacker did. 6 men entered through the ambulance bay in tactical uniforms with federal patches and Navy identifiers. They were not hospital security. They were not local police. They moved like the building had already been mapped in their heads. The first man was tall, broad, older than the others, with close-cut gray hair, a short beard, and a scar under his left eye. His vest identified him as Commander Hayes. His eyes swept the destroyer. Then he saw Emily. He stopped walking. Everything behind him kept moving. Operators fanned out. Patients were checked. Attackers were cuffed. Weapons were cleared. Hayes stood still in the rain from the broken sprinklers and stared at the nurse in bright blue scrubs. Emily stared back. 10 years disappeared, then returned with interest. Hayes spoke first. Blue badge. The name crossed the E like a lit fuse. Rourke heard it from behind the nurse's station. Mara heard it from radiology storage. Owens heard it with both hands still pressed into Daniel Price's hip. Emily did not salute. Commander. Hayes stepped closer. You were listed as killed during a classified extraction. I know. We buried an empty file. I know that too. His jaw worked. Anger. Relief. Questions. None of them useful yet. He looked past her into the storage room. Price? Alive. Junctional bleed controlled. Left tension pneumo decompressed. Needs surgery within 10 minutes. Hayes nodded to 2 operators. Secure transport. Emily lifted a hand. No. The operator stopped. Hayes turned back. No. He is too unstable for a rough move. Clear the OR path with full cover. This building is still hot. Then cool it. For 1 second, everyone waited to see if the commander would punish her tone. He did not. Something almost like a smile moved under his beard. Same as ever. Emily's face did not change, not even close. Hayes keyed his radio. Team 2, clear route to OR. Team 3, sweep east wing. Local command. Nobody enters this E without my authorization. They moved Daniel through a tunnel of weapons, badges, scrubs, and fear. Emily walked at his left side, one hand on the rail, one watching the dressing. Mara walked on the right. Owens kept pressure. Meta ventilated Daniel with a bag when his breathing weakened. Pulse 128, Emily called. Pressure 82 over 48. Sats 92. Daniel's eyes opened halfway. Trying. You are doing a poor job. He smiled through pain. Missed you too. Mara glanced at Emily. You know each other? No. Daniel wheezed. She saved my brother. Emily's eyes flicked down. Mara caught the crack in her armor there and gone. The elevator opened. Inside stood Dr. Rourke. "I am coming to the OR. Emily blocked him with the bed. "No, I am director of this department. You are a conflict of interest." His face hardened. "You are accusing me based on the rambling of a dying man." Daniel opened his eyes. "Not dying." Emily looked at him. "Debatable." Mara almost laughed. Hayes stepped beside Emily. "Doctor, step away. This is outrageous." "No," Hayes said. Outrageous was letting armed contractors access your A through a maintenance corridor. Rourke froze. Hayes held up a tablet. "My team found access logs. Someone used an administrator override 11 minutes before the first breach." Rourke's eyes moved left. Small. Involuntary. Emily saw it. Hayes saw Emily see it. That was how old teams spoke. Without words, Rourke whispered, "Many people have access." "Not to your personal code," Hayes said. The elevator seemed too small for everyone's silence. Emily's voice dropped. "You opened the door." "I did not know they would hurt patients." Mara stared at him. "You let them in?" "I thought they were federal security." Hayes tilted his head. "With rifles and masks?" Rourke's panic sharpened into anger. "You do not understand what they threatened. Hospitals survive on money, grants, partnerships. Sometimes you sign what you have to sign." Emily's eyes went cold. "Patients survive on oxygen, blood, and people who do not sell the doors." Hayes gestured to two operators. "Detain him." Rourke twisted as they took his arms. His polished authority shattered in seconds. "Emily," he snapped, "tell them this is a misunderstanding." Emily held his gaze. For weeks, his voice had made the hallway shrink around her. Now it sounded small. "No." They dragged him out of the elevator. The OR team met Daniel on the 4th floor. The attending surgeon started to object to the armed escort. Emily did not give him room. "Male, late 30s, junctional hemorrhage left groin, decompressed left chest, pressure responsive, likely vascular injury. He needs vascular surgery and blood now." The surgeon looked at the dressing. "Who packed this?" "I did." His expression changed. Not respect yet. Recognition of competence. That was enough. "Get him in." Daniel grabbed Emily's wrist as they moved him. "The drive. I have it. Do not give it to anyone but Hayes." "I know." His eyes searched hers. "You were supposed to be free." Emily leaned closer. "So were you." The OR doors swallowed him. Emily stood outside, soaked in sprinkler water and blood. Hayes approached with the posture of a man carrying too many dead. "Price will have a chance. Chance is not enough. It is what we get." Emily looked at him. "You should not have come here." Hayes gave a low laugh. "I could say the same. I was working. You were hiding." Emily said nothing. Hayes softened his voice. "We searched for you for 3 years. You were not supposed to. You saved 12 people in Yemen and vanished before extraction closed. Command marked you presumed dead because someone above us buried the recovery file." Emily's eyes sharpened. "Who?" That is what Price found. The drive in her fist seemed heavier. Hayes looked toward the O. Contractors, medical administrators, defense liaisons. They used civilian hospitals to move wounded assets, hide illegal trials, and make inconvenient people disappear. Rourke was a door, one of many. And Price? Witness, courier, fool brave enough to walk evidence into a public ER because he thought cameras would protect him. Emily almost smiled. Cameras never protect anyone. People do. Hayes studied her. "That sounds like the woman I knew." "You knew a call sign." "I knew a medic who ran through fire for men who had given up on themselves. She is gone." "No." Hayes glanced at her blue scrubs. She changed uniforms. Mara stood nearby. pretending not to listen and failing. Emily turned to her. Mara, go downstairs. Help Owens reassign patients. Mara hesitated. You are ordering me away because this is classified. I am ordering you away because the E needs nurses. Mara lifted her chin. I am a nurse. Emily held her gaze. Yes, you are. She walked to the elevator, then looked back. When he called you Blue Badge, everyone looked scared. Emily waited. Mara swallowed. I was not scared of you. I was proud. Then she was gone. The words hurt more than Emily expected. Hayes saw it. You have people here. I have coworkers. Not anymore. Emily looked away. The drive cut into her palm. Where do you want this? Hayes opened a small evidence case. Here. Emily did not move. You trust me that little? I trust systems less. Fair. What do you need? A computer not connected to hospital networks. 2 witnesses. Chain of custody recorded on camera. Mara present. She is civilian. She is a nurse. Hayes smiled faintly. There it is. They used the nurse's break room. Hayes set a clean laptop on the table. Mara stood beside Emily. A federal agent recorded. Louise Kane, too, uninvited, holding trauma tags like a shield. Emily looked at him. He shrugged. I saw stuff. Fine. Hayes opened an evidence log. State your name. Emily Carter. Roll. Registered nurse. St. Bartholomew Central E. Hayes paused. Emily's eyes warned him. Do not say more. He obeyed. Item recovered? Black data drive hidden in the jacket seam of patient Daniel Price. Recovered during active casualty response. Witnesses? Mara Ellison, RN. Lise Ortega, a technician. Commander Aaron Hayes. Mara's mouth tightened with pride at the RN after her name. A screen asked for a passphrase. Emily closed her eyes. Yemen.smoke. Concrete stairwell. A wounded operator laughing through broken teeth. Her own voice saying, Not dead until I say so. Donnelly opened her eyes. Type. Not dead yet. Hayes typed it. The drive opened. Folders filled the screen. Hospital lists. Payment ledgers. Contractor names. Patient transfers. Classified medical trial identifiers. And one folder marked Blue Badge Termination. Hayes went completely still. Emily's pulse did not change. That scared her more than fear would have. Open it, Emily said. A report appeared. Operation Ash Harbor. Yemen extraction. Casualties listed. One line showed her old service identity. Status, deceased. And a second document, amended directive asset survived. Identity suppressed. No recovery authorized. Emily, read the sentence twice. No recovery authorized. Hayes's voice was low. They knew. 3 years of silence. 3 years of moving from city to city. 3 years of thinking command had accepted her death because it had to. But someone had known. Someone had chosen to leave her buried. Louise whispered, That is murder. Hayes scrolled to the approval code. Mara leaned in. Whose code is that? Hayes's face changed, not shock. Betrayal. Admiral Sutter. Emily finally looked away. He was our task force sponsor, Hayes said. The rot goes high, Emily said. A scream came from the not fear. Warning. A nurse shouted, Fire! Smoke rolled from the east hallway. Another diversion. The radio confirmed it. 2 detainees missing from Ambulance Bay. The missing detainees appeared through the smoke, dragging Torres, the hospital guard, between them. One had a scalpel at his throat. The attacker's eyes found Emily. There she is. Hayes raised his weapon. The attacker pulled Torres tighter. Drop it or he opens. Emily lifted one hand behind her. Hold. Hayes held. She walked forward. 1 step. Then another. Let him go. Trade. No, the attacker smiled. You think you are still in charge? Emily looked at Torres. He had once looked away when Rourke humiliated a nurse. Now he was crying because death had found his throat. He was still worth saving. Emily stopped 6 feet away. I think your hand is burned. The attacker blinked. What? The lighter. You used accelerant. Your right thumb is blistered. You are losing grip. His eyes flicked down. Tiny mistake. Emily moved. She stepped inside the blade, slapped his wrist outward, drove her shoulder into Torres to push him clear, and hooked the attacker's burned thumb backward. He screamed and dropped the scalpel. Hayes took the second man down before the bottle of antiseptic hit the floor. Emily pinned the first attacker against the wall. Who sent you? He spit blood. Emily increased pressure by 1/2 inch. Sutter, he choked. The name froze Hayes. The lights went out. For one full breath, the hospital fell into black. And red emergency lights washed the in blood-colored shadows. Over the intercom, a calm male voice spoke. St. Bartholomew's staff, this is Admiral Nathaniel Sutter. Remain where you are. Federal containment is now in effect. Hayes looked at Emily. Emily looked toward the ceiling speakers. The dead had not risen. The living had come to finish burying her. Admiral Nathaniel Sutter walked into the E like he owned the fear. He wore a dark navy uniform with ribbons stacked across his chest and 4 stars on his shoulders, not 5. Real power did not need imaginary decoration. It needed access. It needed signatures. It needed men like Rourke to open doors and men like Briggs to break them. Sutter had all of that. Behind him came federal-looking officers Emily did not recognize. Private security wearing government confidence. Sutter's eyes found Emily immediately. He smiled with the sadness of a man pretending betrayal was duty. Petty Officer Carter. Morrow looked at Emily. Petty Officer. The title landed where Rookie had been. Rourke, cuffed near the admin hallway, stared as if he finally understood he had never known the woman he mocked. Emily stood in the red emergency glow. Blue scrub soaked dark, hair half fallen from its ponytail. No weapon. No rank on her chest. Only a hospital badge and blood on her hands. Admiral, she said. Hayes stepped beside her. Sir, you are interfering with an active federal investigation. Sutter did not look at him. Commander Hayes, you are relieved. No, sir. That got Sutter's attention. The Admiral turned slowly. Careful. Hayes lifted his chin. I have evidence of criminal conspiracy, attempted murder, unlawful medical experimentation, and falsified casualty status. You are named in the files. Sutter sighed. Files can be misunderstood. Emily stepped forward. People left behind cannot. The Admiral's smile thinned. You were not left behind. You were protected. Emily laughed once. It had no warmth. Protected from rescue? Protected from being used. You marked me dead. You were compromised. I was wounded. You had seen too much. The A listened. Patients. Nurses. Doctors. Police. Even the cuffed destroyers. Everyone understood enough. Not details. Truth. Emily had been buried by the people who should have brought her home. Sutter lowered his voice. You survived because I allowed you to disappear. Emily's eyes did not move. I survived because men better than you died buying me time. Sutter's jaw hardened. You always had a talent for making morality sound simple. It is simple when patients are bleeding. This was never about patients. Emily looked around the A. A woman with bandaged arms held her husband's hand. A child slept under a silver blanket. Daniel Price fought for his life upstairs. Mara stood with Torres, both streaked with smoke. It is always about patients, Emily said. Sutter's gaze flicked to the break room. The drive. He knew. Emily saw the calculation before his hand moved. Hayes saw her see it. Sutter raised 2 fingers. His private officers shifted toward the break room. Emily stepped into their path, unarmed. Soaked. Furious. Double quotes. No one touches evidence. Sutter's smile vanished. You are still taking orders from ghosts, Carter. Not anymore. Emily reached into her pocket. Sutter's men tensed. She pulled out a roll of surgical tape. Nothing more. Then she turned and placed the black data drive in Mara's hand. Mara's eyes widened. Me? You witnessed recovery. Take it to Agent Pell by the ambulance bay. Give it to no one else. Stop her, Sutter said. 2 security men moved. The patients moved first. The elderly man from Trauma Bay 4 stood from his wheelchair with oxygen under his nose. Louis stepped beside him. Owens followed. Torres, bandaged at the throat, joined them. Then 3 nurses and a janitor with a mop handle formed the human wall. Mara ran. Sutter's men froze. They could not reach her without shoving patients on camera. That was the line Emily had counted on. Cowards hated witnesses. They hated helpless witnesses most. From the OR hallway, an elevator opened. A surgeon stepped out, mask hanging from his neck. Price is alive. Vascular repair held. Critical, but stable. And before anesthesia took him, he gave a recorded statement to 2 federal agents. Then Mara's voice came over the police radio. Evidence secure with Agent Pell. Upload started. Hayes looked at Sutter. Now it is over. Sutter's face changed. For the first time, command left him. Something raw showed through. Not guilt. Rage. You should have stayed dead. Emily stepped close. A lot of patients would be dead if I had. Sutter's hand twitched toward his sidearm. Emily moved inside the draw before the pistol cleared leather. One hand trapped his wrist. The other struck his elbow. The weapon hit the floor. Hayes kicked it away. His operator seized Sutter and cuffed him in front of the A he had tried to silence. No one cheered. The moment was too heavy for that. They took him out through the ambulance bay. Reporters shouted beyond the glass. Camera flashes lit the rain. Emily did not follow. She turned back to the A. There was still work. There was always work. Update me, she said. Mara returned 5 minutes later, breathless and bright-eyed. Drive secured. Upload complete. Agent Pell says federal warrants are already moving. Good. Mara looked toward the doors where Sutter had disappeared. Were you really a Navy SEAL? The question arrived softly. Not like gossip. Like a nurse checking a wound. Emily looked at the ruined Dot, at Rourke in cuffs, at Hayes speaking to agents, at patients watching her with a strange new trust. She had avoided this sentence for years. Yes, she said. Mara's eyes filled. Why become a nurse here? Emily glanced down at her badge. Emily Carter, RN. A fake, quiet life that had become real. Because people still bleed after war's end. Mara nodded. No more questions. That was a gift. Federal agents took Rourke away after his confession began spilling out in pieces. He blamed pressure, funding, threats, and Sutter. He blamed everyone except the man who had typed the override code. Emily did not listen long. She had patience. The elderly chest pain patient went to cath lab and survived the blocked artery Rourke had nearly dismissed. The little boy in imaging hall fell asleep holding a teddy bear nurse, found in Lost and Found. Torres received 6 stitches and apologized 3 times for every day he had looked away. Emily accepted the 3rd apology, not the first 2. Some apologies need to work for a while before they count, she told Mara. At dawn, St. Bartholomew Central looked like a storm had learned medicine. Glass gone, floors wet, walls scarred, patients alive that mattered most. Helen Cross returned with the hospital board and asked Emily to become interim emergency director. Emily said no. Not until the hospital agreed to full staffing review, independent safety audits, nurse-led triage authority during surges, real panic buttons, trained security, monthly disaster drills, no private contractor access without clinical oversight, and Mara Ellison as assistant nurse coordinator for emergency preparedness. Cross looked at the board. "That is a lot," one man whispered. Emily nodded. "Yes." Cross asked, "And if we agree? Then I consider interim. 30 days. After that, the staff votes whether the changes are real." The staff votes? The people who carried this hospital through last night get a voice in whether leadership deserves trust. Cross took a long breath. Agreed. 3 months later, Rourke lost his license, and Sutter stood trial. Daniel testified. Hayes testified. Mara testified with both hands flat on the table, and her voice shaking only once. Emily testified last. The prosecutor asked why she had hidden for years. Emily looked at the jury. "Because I thought silence was the price of surviving." "And what changed?" "I watched helpless people become brave when someone told them the truth. After that, hiding felt like lying." Sutter was convicted. The news called Emily a hero. She hated it. Heroes belonged on posters. Nurses belonged in rooms where someone needed water, pressure, oxygen, or courage. So she went back to work. Later that night, Daniel Price waited near the ambulance bay with a cane and a small blue enamel badge in his palm. "Briggs had it," he said. "Took it from the stairwell in Yemen after you vanished." Emily took the scratched badge carefully. For a second, smoke, heat, and the old stairwell returned. Then she looked through the ambulance bay doors. Mara corrected Louis on trauma card placement. Owens laughed. Torres checked the doors twice. The E breathed. Emily pinned the old blue badge behind her hospital ID. Hidden unless someone looked closely. Not buried, just carried. Emily stayed outside after he left. Sirens moved in the distance. Wind crossed the ambulance bay. The world always needed someone awake. She had spent years believing survival meant disappearing. Then violent men entered a hospital and taught her the opposite. Survival was choosing what the past would serve. Pain could serve mercy. Training could serve patience. A buried name could rise for protection. Emily Carter was still quiet. That did not change. She still walked softly through the E. She still checked monitors before charts. She still noticed hands, exits, breathing, and lies. But no one at St. Bartholomew Central called her easy to intimidate again. No one laughed when she spoke. 2 months later, when a new rookie nurse noticed a patient breathing wrong, Emily made the room stop and listen. The nurse said it louder. The doctors listened the first time. That was the lesson St. Bartholomew carried long after the glass was replaced and the cameras forgot. Respect was not a title, a coat, a rank, or a framed certificate on a wall. Respect was what remained when fear entered the room, and someone still stepped forward. Sometimes it looked like a doctor, sometimes like a guard, sometimes like a janitor with a mop handle, and sometimes it looked like a tired nurse in blue scrubs who had every reason to stay invisible, but chose to stand between helpless patients and the people who came to destroy them. Emily Carter never asked the E to remember her old call sign. It did anyway. In the way, nurses protected each other. In the way, residents listened the first time. In the way, security checked every door. In the way, patients were moved away from glass during storms. In the way, a little boy once returned with a drawing of a woman in blue standing in front of a broken hospital. Across the top, in crooked letters, he had written, "The nurse who was not scared." Emily kept it inside her locker, beside the old blue badge. And every time the E doors opened, every time sirens came close, when someone forgotten needed a voice, She remembered the truth she had learned the hard way. Being silent did not mean being powerless. Being overlooked did not mean being ordinary. And being buried did not mean being gone. The end